What's up everybody, another beautiful day in the Dragon Isles, and today I wanted to talk about the new awesome trinkets we can get going into 10.2. Lots of fun gimmicky stuff with insane procs, some of which with insane downsides. Ooh. So going over to the new raid, Amir. First one is the Augury of the Primal Flame, which drops from the last boss Furak. It gives a huge chunk of passive critical strike rating, and it's proc. Your spells and abilities have a low chance to grant Annihilating Flames for 20 seconds. This causes your crits to deal 50% additional damage as fire is split between nearby enemies, and it deals X amount of damage, X depending on eye level, before fading, which is increased anytime you crit. And damage cap is also increased per enemy hit, up to 5. So pretty much when this procs, all your crits become Omega Pepega empowered and you slap to high heavens. And even with low amounts of crit, this does an insane amount of damage. Of course, consistency of this damage is increased with crit up to a certain point. And going into 10.2, or rather as we start getting 10.2 gear, we'll naturally start to get more crit, as we'll hit diminishing returns on haste and mastery very fast. So this little bad boy will scale with us. And just from some dummy slapping and M+ testing, it does anywhere between 5 to 10% of my overall. And this is with low crit and being scaled down to 440 eye level in PTR dungeons. So should be a fair bit higher once you get into 10.2 gear. Sadly, this trinket is very rare, so the odds of me getting it are slim to none. The tradition for me has been no very rare loot for you. Looking at you wear an Og Ring and Echo class trinket. It does, however, go all the way up to 496 on Mythic, so whomever the RNG gods favor enough to get this will have some happy slapping to do. Not gonna be me. Next one is the Cataclysmic Signet brand, which is an insane trinket with an insane drawback. It gives you passive primary stat, but the proc is where it's at. So your melee attacks and abilities have a chance to brand your target, dealing ticking fire damage to them over 6 seconds. Whoop whoop. Now each proc gives you a stack of fire starter up to 15 stacks, and each stack increases the damage of the brand proc by an insane amount. And at 15 stacks, it does a disgustingly unethical amount of damage and deals 10% of his damage split between nearby enemies. However, it takes about 3 minutes to stack it up to 15, so its true power comes in late into pulls. But wait. When you're above 5 stacks, 50% of the damage it deals, you take as well. Now this can be offset a great deal by having enough leech and earth shield up, but it can lead to some horrible overlaps if you're unlucky, because the damage isn't consistent, as it's based off when you proc your brand dot on the boss. So picture this. You're fighting a big bad boss. You're 7 minutes into the fight. Soon you'll get to the rough overlap where the raid takes insane damage. Then the trinket procs and you watch your life slowly drift away as you see your damage on details go up, up, up. And then you die. Now you can for sure play around it and it will be manageable, but I am sure it will ruin your days sooner or later. But you can always turn to the healer and go, one heal? Then we have Pips, Emerald Friendship Badges. Gives you a chunk of agility and a smaller chunk of either crit mastery or verse, and it will swap between these secondary stats. Your abilities have a chance to tag in a random new best friend, which changes this but also grants you a huge proc of either crit, verse, or mastery depending on your friendo. Is it me? So at 460 eye level it gives me around 3k and it diminishes over 12 seconds. Nothing real spicy to say about this more than it's insanely good. Enhancement do love stats, and all of which are useful on both AoE and single target, so will be a great all-around trinket for most content. Plus, it has a great animation. And with this trinket, I'll finally have friends. And best friends at that. Then we have the Ashes of the Ember Soul. Gives you a big chunk of passive haste, but on use, it increases your primary stat, so for us agility. At 460 eye level, it gives you around 4.3k agility, decaying every 3 seconds. So big value at the start. However, after using it, you lose the static haste from the trinket for 1 minute. Now this one is a bit problematic. On the one hand, you gain a huge primary boost that you can couple with a lot of our burst, popping Primordial Wave plus Wolfies into the trinket so you get the agility on the Lightning Bolt slap, as well as the following Elemental Blast. Could also be a case where you pop it after Primordial Wave Lightning Bolt right before your first Elemental Blast to ensure you have the highest amount of agility for the 2 elemental elemental blast you fire off during the burst cycle. Regardless, it does make him slap tremendously. However, losing the static haste is a big blow to the trinket, as we do love stats. So unless there's a specific scenario where we really need that burst, I don't think we'll see a lot of play, but it's a fun trinket regardless. It also has an additional proc. When circumstances are dire, your soul ignites, giving you the buff without decaying for 20 seconds, which can only happen once per fight or once per combat. Previously, this part procced any time you entered combat, but that does not seem to be the case anymore. I guess they changed it because it used to work when outlaw rogues pressed vanish. That being said, I am unsure how this procs now. If you know, let me know in the comments. Then we go over to the dungeon side of life. The first trinket I want to talk about is the Witherbark's branch. I wonder which one of his branches gives you passive agility and a 2-minute cooldown on use that spawns 3 water orbs that fly out, then travel slowly in towards your location. Kinda like the Pelagos orbs from Shadowlands. Each of these orbs gives you a high amount of mastery for 10 seconds. At 447 eye level, it gives around 1700 mastery per orb. This stacks, and each orb extends its duration. So if timed properly, you'll have 1700 mastery for 8 to 9 seconds, then 3.4k for another 8 to 9 seconds, then 5.1k mastery for another 10 seconds, which is a disgusting amount of mastery. However, the issue for me with this trinket is playability. If it turns out that we need to min-max extend this, it will be straight up ass to play with as a melee. Imagine doing that in raid. There's 846 billion swirls and animations going on, and you need to track 3 little orbs, kite them around a bit so you can properly extend. Well, you're either gonna fail at that or get hit by something you should have dodged. Another issue with the trinket is that you don't get the big effect of the trinket until like 20 seconds after popping it if you're extending. So you won't really get max benefit on pull, for example. You'll instead get it during your second primordial wave cycle if you have the new Forset. But if it turns out we just pop it, run over the balls, and go on with our lives, it'd be a lot more manageable to play. Less fun, some players might say. I'd say less ass. Regardless, I like fun, gimmicky stuff normally, but this is a no for me. Next one is the Porcelain Crab. Passive agility and a mastery proc that also increases your avoidance. I mean, screw damage increase, we'll get more survive. Or rather, when the trinket procs, you can with good conscience stand in AoEs instead of moving out. Not really, don't do that. But this is just an overall great trinket. Might not have any fun gimmicks apart from avoidance, but it's pretty much never a bad trinket. Mastery is great, has a high uptime on the proc, and enhancement is just constant damage with super burst every 24 seconds. Yeah, pretty much never a bad time to get crabs. Trinket. However, there's an abundance of decent to amazing trinkets for enhancement in 10.2, which is a breath of fresh air going from season 2, which had 1 dungeon trinket and the rest was raid, and even them weren't that great. Of course, there will always be 2 to 3 trinkets that are de facto BIS, but having options is great, especially while you're gearing. And well, not everyone is lucky enough to get raid trinkets week 1 or 2, or in my case, even week 20. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this enhancement rant, going over the most interesting trinkets for enhancement in 10.2. Now take all of this with a grain of salt. Sims aren't done. This is by no means a play these trinkets and you will win. I'm just showing how they work. But once I release my build guides for 10.2, I will add in what trinkets we really should go for. And if you have any questions at all, hit me up in the comments or become a patron or Twitch sub and get access to the Stankie Discord, where you can get help with anything raiding or enhancement related. You can also get shoutouts in videos, things like that, and it helps me. Don't forget the usual stuff: like, comment, subscribe, and slap that notification bell. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. One heal.